Americans' own help and America's own money. The CCP is bringing down America with Americans' own greed, America's own technology, law firms, and accounting firms, as well as the America's own corrupt government agencies. This is the core of the CCP's 3F plan.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was from our friends over at the NFSC. Let me bring on our awesome sister, Miss Nicole Tsai of the New Federal State of China. Miss Nicole Tsai, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, and thank you so much for having me. Happy Monday. So great podcast in the last 30 minutes. And the more minded about the communist China, because in communist China, the CCP top leaders, they are often the victims of the weaponized government agencies. You know, even people like the CCP chairman, the Liu Shaoqi, Deng Xiaoping, and Hu Jintao. I mean, these people are top CCP leaders. They're even the chairman of the CCP, but at the end of the day, they either end up being persecuted and died in prison, or they're being politically persecuted by their political opponent. So, and you know, every day I'm seeing the news headline in this country. I'm terrified because the government agencies should not be serving any political party. It should be they're funded by the taxpayer dollar. They should be upholding the U.S. Constitution and serve we the people. But increasingly, we're seeing the government agencies like Department of Justice, FBI, SEC, and IRS, they have been weaponized by the political powers to go after their dissidents, including the Chinese American dissidents, the whistleblower movement, the New Federal State of China. Our leader and founder Mao Zedong is locked up, you know, without bail, and Trump has been indicted multiple times. I mean, just, you know, I don't know how average American people are responding and reacting to this kind of thing, but this really deeply worries the Chinese American citizens who was born and grew up in communist China, who really know what it is like to live in communism.
And you know what? That's and thank you for saying that, because I was thinking about before y'all decided to stand up and stand against. Quickly, tell our American audience, tell our listeners and viewers how it felt to be under the boot of the CCP. I mean, like again, quickly if you can, but let them know just how slave like it felt. What could you do? What couldn't you do? And just explain that to the audience real quick.
Well, in China, there is actually a constitution that promises the Chinese people the religious freedom, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of assembly. But the CCP is above the law. And so the CCP can decide on when, how, and in what situation you will be entitled to those rights. And supposedly, America is a very exceptional country where people in this country do believe that our natural rights, well written in the U.S. Constitution, are not bestowed to the American people by the government. They came from God's, and that's why the American people have the 2A, the Second Amendment. They have the right to own guns. In case the government becomes too powerful, that has started intruding the U.S. Citizens' individual liberty. So in China, there's no 2A. People are not allowed to own guns. And even if you want to buy a knife, a kitchen knife, you have to be registered with your real name, because the government is so scared of people even buying a kitchen knife, you know? Yes, and this is exactly what people, kitchen knife. People have to be registered and being monitored for about what you do and how are you going to use the kitchen knife. And that's how scared the CCP regime is. So this is a very, very fragile, evil dictatorship. But why it has been acting so aggressively and why it has the power
Right.
to expand its influence globally, and how come it has even weaponized the most powerful countries' government agencies like the Department of Justice, the FBI, the IRS, the SEC in this country. Well, just in the video that you played for the American audiences to see, Moscow had been warning that it's the American government, American Silicon Valley, America's Wall Street that has been giving the money, the technology, and political legitimacy to the CCP so that the CCP can be secured about its own power and to continue enslave the Chinese people. And to give you another example, people work in the iPhone factory in China, the sweatshop, the slave concentration camp. I mean, those workers, they're not protected by any labor rights, and they're paid like $2 per hour after this this increase in their salary, reaching $2 only happened after the international media started exposing, the abusive work environment. Before it was like $1 or a few cents, you know, and
Right.
that's how the corporate America has been profiting from the Chinese slave labor. And, people in this country often talk about, oh, the corporate America should have social responsibility, the ESG, the environmental and socially responsible and global governance. Then why not apply the ESG standard on the corporate American companies that have been profiting from the Chinese people's slave labor? Because
Right.
this isn't socially responsible. This isn't a decent way of global governance, you know? And so,
Mhm.
so remember, kitchen knife, okay? And $2 per hour. That should give every American citizen about an idea about what is America funded CCP regime.
Nicole, you said something that really interested me. We know in the United States, you've outlined it perfectly with the corporations and the Wall Street and the political parties and the DOJ and the different agencies. But when you said about the former chief of the CCP, like Xi Jinping or Deng Xiaoping, whoever, what organization is stronger than that person? I mean, I always thought that communist regimes were personified by the top guy. That he's pretty much running the show. Is there a quote unquote deep state in Chinese in communist China too, or who? You understand what I'm saying? Who would go after somebody that was the most powerful guy in the whole country? That's intriguing me.
Well, that's a great question. In fact, the names that I just gave, like Deng Xiaoping and Liu Shaoqi, Hu Jintao, I mean, all these people have been serving the paramount leader of the CCP. They were the head of the state and they were the chairman of the CCP. But in the political infight, they could be jailed. They died in prison. And very similar to North Korea. I mean, Kim Jong-un ordered the killing of his own uncle back in 2013. And so because in those countries where the political power stands above the rule of law, I mean, the most evil person would use the government agencies to go after even their, the enemies within their own party. And so there's no such a thing called rule of law in those countries. And because government agencies are weaponized by the most powerful political party. And but in countries like the United States of America, we shouldn't be seeing the government agencies like the DOJ and FBI is weaponized against a front runner for a presidential candidate
Right.
multiple times, and his predecessors have also brought classified documents to their own home, but they walk away free, and so there's a double standard here. And so that's sent a very strong message to people from around the world that what kind of justice system America's is having right now, because usually people were looking up to America as the leader of the free world characterized by the rule of law. But now what we're seeing in these days, constantly reminding people of what has happened in the dictatorship or in a totalitarian regime, where the government agencies can be weaponized to go after political dissidents.
Nicole, you made one good point I just wanted to reinforce, and then I'll move on to the next question. And that is because they know that would be what you'd use to defend yourself. And the Second Amendment in America was not about deer hunting or even defending your house from somebody trying to rob you. It was to protect you from an overreaching government. And that's why they want to curtail your Second Amendment rights. But kind of along that vein, one thing you touched on that I don't think people understand is Xi Jinping is not this all-powerful leader in China. He is the leader of the party, and it's the party that's the leader in China, not just, I think in our mind we think, oh, here's this evil dictator, but the Communist Party of China is essentially the deep state, and it's the administrative state, and it controls every function from church to that. Could you kind of explain that to our viewers, kind of what that looks like?
Oh, absolutely. You just nailed it. I mean, Xi Jinping is actually a leader of the CCP. And within the CCP, he also has his own enemies because people are competing against him for more power. Because China has 1.4 billion population, and among which $90 million are registered members of the Chinese Communist Party, and but these are the rank and file and people work in the government agencies, and then you got about 100 families. They're called the CCP oligarchy, like Russian oligarchy or the CCP kleptocrats. And these people are the true slave masters. They control 99% of the wealth, and they're the ones who are in bed with the Wall Street executive, Elon Musk, and corrupted political officials in this country. And so, but within those kleptocrats, they also fight against each other because somebody is always trying to get more power, and it's a mutually exclusive zero-sum game. So Xi Jinping also has his own enemy within the kleptocrats within his own party. And so that's why we have seen during the Cultural Revolution, Deng Xiaoping, who was the paramount CCP leader, who ordered the bloody crackdown on the Tiananmen, students movement. He was persecuted twice during Cultural Revolution. He was jailed, and his son was so lost hope in life that he wanted to take his own life. He jumped from a building and became paralyzed. He's forever on the wheelchair. And also Liu Shaoqi, who's the chairman of the CCP, he died in prison in 1969. And last year, on the television, state-owned broadcast on television, the entire world was watching in horror about how Hu Jintao, the former head of the CCP, was abruptly carried out by the security guard, being publicly humiliated when he was just about to take the microphone and to speak up his own mind, a different opinion from Xi Jinping.
Is he still alive? Is he still alive?
we don't know. And ever since then, he never appeared in the state-run, propaganda.
Wow. Yeah, I got a video here of Miles speaking about the situation with President Trump. Let me play that.
I told Steve Bannon 40 days ago, you will be brought down by the court because of the J6. And you will be brought down because of your War Room show. Trump will be prosecuted in New York because of his Trump Organization. They intended to make Trump permanently ineligible for presidential bid by weaponizing the U.S. justice system. It was not the U.S. but the CCP that plotted this frame. Trump and Bannon, whether they believe me or not doesn't matter. Bannon definitely believes me, but he didn't think that the CCP had such great power. I already told him over 40 days ago that it would definitely happen. This was a decision made by the CCP.
Ladies and gentlemen, that the more we learn from Nicole and the National New Federation of China, the more that we learn from them, the more we need to take in. Miles had all of this pegged. He had it down. He had scrolls. He had scrolls of all this happening. And actually, no, I'm not going to say this, because Miles was probably prayed up about it, so God probably told him. But if we as a people start going back to God and speaking to Him and praying to Him, He would probably show us the same thing that He's showing Miles. And the reason why I went that way with it, Nicole, is because it's so right out in front of us. But we've been so blinded and so pushed into a corner. The same thing that y'all were, the same thing that the Chinese people are. They're pushed into a corner and scared. Well, feared. Like the fear's been put into them. You better not act. You better not act, or we'll take this away. You better not act. And we have the power, because just like you said, these government agencies, the government and the media and the corporations, man, they're all clutching hands and against the American people. And it's like some people can't even go in. You're waking up at first thing in the morning. I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't even know what to do. I can't do anything. I mean, I'm so probably because they think that they're by themselves. So that's where they,
It's a psyop.
That's where this comes from. I'm by myself. I'm helpless. I can't do anything. But if you look at the new federal state of China over the last 2 years, they're bringing people together. They're for that cause of fighting back. That used to be a strength that we used to have. I wish we could have it back, though. I wish we could have it back. I just again, I've never met him, but I miss him, and I wish I had known about him before, because we would always had him on the podcast, so that we could get some of those nuggets that he talks about. Is there any update from Miles, the MCC, or anything like that?
Don't lose hope. America still have so many great patriots like you three and all of the people that we met at our 3rd anniversary celebration. So I do have very good news. Congressman George Santos introduced the Guo Act of 2023. So this act is named after Mr. Mao Guo. So what it does mean is this bill will stop the CCP's infiltration in the Capitol Hill and federal government agencies. So basically, it will put a more stringent compliance standard on the financial disclosure of the politicians and career bureaucrats serving in the justice system. So it means that it will stop people like George Higginbotham, who was a DOJ full-time lawyer. He took $41 million from the CCP and worked on CCP's behalf to influence the DOJ and FBI trying to return Mao Guo to China. It will also stop people like Blinken from being named to be the Secretary of the State, where he was previously serving as the managing director of the China Center, funded by the CCP money at University of Pennsylvania. And also, it will help stop people like Christopher Wray, who was benefiting from representing the CCP state-controlled companies as a legal representation. And then he was named to be the FBI director. Same with James Comey. He was a lawyer with the CCP's biggest foreign hedge fund company in China, Bridgewater. And Henry Paulson, who used to be the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, he was the chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs, that is the biggest Wall Street financier of the CCP dictatorship. So this is a long overdue bill that should help save America from the CCP's infiltration. And I can give you a long list.
I bet.
But we're running out of time. But just to give you some idea about the CCP's high-level infiltration, because this is the reason why we're losing this country, because people who are serving these important positions, they are not the representation of we the people.
Right.
They are the representation of the CCP and the deep state.
That's right. That's right.
Totally agree with that. And I'll tell you, Wayne was talking about the fear. That's a palpable thing. I'm sitting here measuring what I'm getting ready to say.
I know, right? Right. It's
but,
like, yeah, you're right. It's like we say we're going to give you exactly what you need to hear. Our head are like, okay, we want to come back tomorrow.
What's the federal prosecutor going to say?
Right. Exactly.
But
why
really,
is there an unmarked SUV outside my house?
For the last 3 weeks.
Here's the thing. Governments are fragile. And Nicole can tell you this, because Chinese government's no different than any other government. It's a small representative of people, and ours has been bought out.
Yeah.
Ours has been almost completely bought out. Mm-hmm. So it's time to cut it loose. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I don't know physically how we do that. But if we don't do it, we deserve what we get.
No, we know physically how to do it. We just don't say it.
Right. But I'm saying there's other things that could happen first, but we're running out of options.
We are.
Carrie Lake said it on Friday.
Yeah.
So I was curious after saying all that. I just wanted to, something's been on my mind, and we always run out of time before I ask it. George Soros recently gave his mantle of his billionaire status to his son, Alex. I wonder, and if there's no connection, just say it, and that's fine. Is George Soros and the CCP connected in any way that you know of?
Yes. They are definitely working for the same interest, and they also have some important secret dealings. And because they share the same agenda to grind down America, and they want to have a global governance based on the lawless regime, and so that they can enslave not only the Chinese people, but American people and people from around the world. And so these are the common enemy of we the people. And so that's why I like to use this great opportunity to urge your listeners and viewers to pick up your phone, call your congressman, and ask them to support the War Act of 2023. If you want to save America, if you want this country to be free from the CCP's weaponization and infiltration, this is the bill that you need to ask your congressman to support unanimously. And for those people who refuse to support this bill in the Congress, let's pay close attention to their financial disclosures, and let's find out why they don't want to support a more stringent financial disclosure compliance standard on their financial income. This is very important.
That's great. Hey, Nicole, first off, thanks again for taking time to be on the show. Shout out to you, the new federal state of China, and all the people in China watching us. What should we be looking for this week? I'm seeing there's some activity with Taiwan. I'm seeing there's a lot of stuff going on. What should our listeners kind of keep their eyes out for this week?
Well, I'd like to draw some attention to the CCP's Cuba-based spying operation targeting the U.S. military. I mean, it's just
That's huge.
within 100 miles from Florida, and Mao's school already warned like 2-3 years ago about the CCP's spy operation in Cuba, Bahamas, and Latin America, targeting specifically the U.S. and especially the military installation. Yet the Pentagon spokesperson Patrick Ryder denied it. He says, "Oh, those media reports were not accurate." And Cuba's deputy foreign minister also published a very strong statement denying the same accusation. So I was seeing a headline news by international media, and this is what the headline reads: Pentagon and the Cuban denied the Chinese Communist Party's spy operation. So basically, this put the Pentagon spokesperson in the same category with Cuba. And
Wow.
do you guys remember back in February? I believe it was on February 15th, when the White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby was holding a press conference. He was telling American people that there's no such a thing called spy balloon. It
Mhm.
is a weather balloon for
Mhm.
benign and commercial purpose.
Right.
So he said that on record in a press conference on February 15th. And we already know that the CCP first launched their spy balloon on January 28th, and the White House allowed the spy balloon to fly over the American continent before, shooting it off. So these people are lying through their teeth.
And the
And
worst part
why?
about that, he's a
Why
retired.
the Pentagon spokesperson denying this, and why his narrative is the same with the Cuba's prime minister? And well, Moscow, Moscow has the exclusive intel about why the CCP built the spying operation in Cuba, in Bahamas. They're targeting America. Why? I mean, this is all about paving a smooth wave for Secretary Blinken to visit Beijing on June 18th.
Yep.
Yeah, the reason why I was laughing is because I remember the track. I remember the flight track. And the only thing missing on that balloon was peanuts and an in-flight movie. That
And you look at Kirby, that's a retired 2-star admiral in the Navy.
right.
Yep.
Yep. Lying in front of the American people. Yeah.
They don't even hide it.
It was nothing.
No.
It was nothing. Okay, Nicole, sadly we gotta let you go, but we will see you before the end of the week. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing. I want to thank the NFSC for everything that they're doing over there. Let everybody know how they can support you real quick.
Yeah, please do call your congressman and ask them to support the GOA Act of 2023. And you can also visit our website, nfscofficial.com, to learn more about the uncensored truth that your government agencies do not want you to hear about. And I want to commend all three of you for providing a platform for American people to hear about the truth. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Tsai of the new federal state of China. We're going to take a break here on the Wayne Dupree podcast broadcast show.